Welcome back to the skateboarder character project tutorials. Now that we've got our extrusions done on our arms and our legs and our head, we're going to begin creating some extra edges so that we can begin shaping out the legs and the arms to cause them to be shaped a little bit more accurately based on our template. And the tool that we're going to be using to make that happen is primarily the Quick Slice tool for now. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is select the polygons that we want to create cuts on. And that's very important, by the way, because if you don't select the polygons that you want to make cuts into, then you might have some very unhappy results. So the first thing so let's go ahead and select the Quick Slice tool. Using it is actually quite easy. I just place the cursor. You notice the cursor is a little different looking now because of the Quick Slice tool. And we want to make a cut that's going to be parallel to the existing edge that's there right now. So you just click, and then you approximately in the area that you want to start the cut, and then you just simply make sure that it's lined up the way you want it to, and then you very simply left click to make the cut stick, so to speak, and then you can right click to get out of the Quick Slice tool. Very important that you be aware of that, because you can make cuts sometimes when you don't want to otherwise. So let's select the Quick Slice tool again. Let's make another cut, this time underneath the original edge that was there. And once again, just simply click in the area you want it to be, and then left click, and then you're able to you have another edge. And what this does, it cuts an edge all the way through and around all the polygons that are selected. And that's exactly what we want. That's a very nice, effective way to make straight cuts that need to go all the way around the object. Okay, so let's make one more so that we can actually have another row of edges that is going to be pushed up underneath the shirt. So make the same kind of approach. Left click and then right click to get out of the Quick Slice tool. Okay. Alright, so now we want to go into vertices so that we can begin manipulating the vertices from the edge that we've created. This is now allowing us to create some more detail on here and make things look the way we ultimately want to. Now with a regular marquee selection tool, it's very difficult to make a selection like that. So let's go up under here and make sure select object is selected. And then click in the area where the rectangular selection tool is and select the fence selection tool instead. This allows us to make a more polygonal type of selection that can be at any angle and any shape. And that makes it a lot easier to make a selection of things like this. You can select irregular vertices in different positions and stuff, but in this case we just want to select a line that was diagonal. A line of vertices that was diagonal. Alright, so we'll get our scale tool, scale these vertices in a little bit, because the idea is we're trying to create this shape that's sort of the top of the of the trousers. And let's just get that there. Maybe there we go. Get the move tool and kind of move it into position so that when we move it straight up under the shirt, now you can see how that's going to allows us to create that feel that the legs are underneath the shirt, or the shirt is outside in front of the trousers. Now the other problem is that you can see those vertices in the front view on the left side are a little too far over, so we need to scale those in a little bit. But whoops, that's a mistake. Gotta be careful about that. I just moved a vertex in the very center. That is not something you want to do, because that ends up making a hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a selection again of all of those vertices so that we can move that over, but we have to be careful about how we do it this time. So select all those guys, and let's go over here and deselect this one right here in the front on the x-axis. All I did to fix that earlier, if I went too fast, is to just simply select that one vertex and put it back in 0 position on the x-axis. Alright, now we have the vertices selected that we want, so that we can just move those vertices over just a little bit, or scale them, either one, whichever is going to work. So let's go ahead and take care of that right now. Move that over. Okay, so all we're trying to do is keep those vertices on the left over enough so that they don't cut into the shirt. I also need to select a few more, or deselect a few more vertices. I just was aware that I had more selected than I needed. There we go. Now we got this straightened out, I think. Okay, nobody's perfect, right? Okay. So the other edges are here because we want to create a nice edge to the shirt, and the closer edges are together in an area, the more of a sharp edge we can create. And of course, the whole idea is that the shirt is hanging down in front of the torso, and we don't want it to look like a balloon in front, and it would once we apply what's called the mesh smooth modifier. So I'm just kind of shaping these out now and just kind of moving them around so that we can create that edge. We want that edge on the shirt that is nice, sharp, creased kind of edge. Get them in position here. There we go. I'm having to be a little more careful about selecting just the ones I want because I don't want to select the ones on the inside. There we go. Pull that up. I mean, the ones on the outside. We want to pull the ones on the inside up and inside a little bit. And once again, that the whole purpose of that is to create that nice sort of creased edge that the bottom of a shirt would have. All right. Let's just make a few adjustments here to some of these vertices before we start cutting some more edges into the leg portion of our character. Select these vertices here. Let's move them around, up a little bit. Scale them out just a bit. There we go. There we go. Okay. Just trying to get these shapes to look a little more natural. Just it's going to be a lot of this kind of stuff as we continue with this character. In fact, it's going to be a little bit more intense. Let's move these down a little bit. And what we're going to try to do in a minute here is create some cuts so we have some fairly evenly spaced edges that we can work with to shape the leg. Scale this out a little bit, move it over so we can, you know, start getting the shape of the leg for the character. It's going to be a lot more adjustments we're going to be doing later on. A lot of detail work. Right now, all we're doing is just trying to rough it out a bit. It's very, very rough at this stage. But it's like with anything that you create, whether it be a drawing or if you're modeling in clay, you start with, you know, just roughing out the biggest parts and then start working on some other stuff. So now let's select these polygons down here so that we can make some cuts on the rest of the leg here. Now the idea here is that we want to create some edge loops that are going to be fairly evenly spaced. So let's get our quick slice tool. And right about there should be good. Above the knee, kind of below the knee, really just sort of evenly spaced at this point. We're going to be able to make a lot more adjustments later on. Yeah, there we go. And right about there should be good. Okay. And probably one more cut. And there we have it. Okay, so we get that leg worked out. Let's work on the, maybe work on the foot just a little bit here. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a selection of the polygons on the foot here. And we'll make a sort of a vertical cut, or sorry, a horizontal cut, which is vertical, which is horizontal. More of a horizontal cut with this quick slice tool here. And start, you know, creating some extra polygons to make the foot more editable, if you will. That's the whole point, is to create these these extra edges so that we will actually be able to shape things out, and that's editing the polygon basically, and that's a big part of what we're going to be doing. Let's make one going vertically now that I've got my V's and my H's down here, and now this will give us a little bit better opportunity to work this foot out and kind of shape it and so forth. Now the next step, probably what we ought to do here is perhaps apply a mesh smooth modifier. And the purpose of that is to start to see how it's going to actually be rounded out, because we're going to leave the mesh smooth modifier on from now on so that we can actually begin to see how it's going to shape out. Oh, this is interesting. Take a look at the head in our character. We're going to need to do something about that. Interesting, eh? Well, that's kind of normal, so we're going to fix that. Or perhaps normal isn't exactly the best way to describe it. It's just a common occurrence that happens. What's happened here is that when we extruded the head up from the torso, remember that, of course, it's different than when we extruded the legs, because the legs are two different parts and they're meant to be split apart. But the head is meant to be one piece. And what happens is that when you extrude that part up from the middle of the torso, it creates a polygon inside of the head on the side of the symmetry modifier. See it there? It's actually more than one polygon. It's depending on how many extrusions we made, and we made a couple. So we need to simply delete those polygons. And you can see that down here in the body area, because of the way that is the way it's supposed to look. It should be hollow in there. So let's just select the polygon, and delete it. And then there's another one down here. Select it, delete it. And there's one more in the neck area. Select it and delete it. Now we're good to go. So that's all it took to make that work. So we can take a look at it. Let's go back and turn mesh smooth back on in symmetry, and make sure that it's showing in the viewport. There we go. Now you can see it looks the way it's meant to look, and it was all because of those polygons in the middle. With the symmetry modifier and mesh smooth, it creates that weird kind of separation. So anyway, now we can fix it. It's looking, our character's actually not looking too bad so far. Very boxy still, very, very rough. There's a lot of work to be done on it, but we're coming along pretty well. And so taking a look at it in the perspective view now and again is a good idea. Just remember, we're going to be working in the front and the side views mostly. So, well, at least for the time being. Ultimately, really, when we get through really roughing it out, we're not going to need our templates anymore. And we're going to ultimately end up working just in the perspective view, exclusively in the perspective view, but not for a while. We still need to finish making sure that things are, correct in this view. Okay, at least in the side and front views using our template. All right, so we're going to leave mesh smooth on, and the reason why is because when we're, editing our character and trying to determine how to adjust the vertices and everything, we need to have that mesh smooth on so we can actually see the end result of the way it's going to look with the mesh smooth on, because that's going to stay there. It's not going to go away. It's going to stay on our character till the bitter end, basically, and until we're completely finished with it, and then still be there even when we animate it. So let's just talk for a minute about what the mesh smooth modifier actually does. You can see that when it's on, there's this orange cage that appears that shows the edges and vertices, or at least the edges, in yellow. Those are actually the edges and vertices that we've been working with all along. What mesh smooth is doing is basically rounding it off, and the way it's doing that is a concept called subdivision surface modeling, subdividing it. It's actually got 4 times more polygons. See the shape of the head, and see the shape of as I turn off the mesh smooth modifier, how when it's off, you can see it's the original shape that we've been working with all along. When mesh smooth is on, that shape is still there in essence. That we'll still be working with those vertices and moving them around and so forth, but mesh smooth is shaping it in a way that's actually more like the way we want it to be ultimately. Okay, so that's the idea with it. So let's go ahead and start working on the leg here with mesh smooth turned on, so you can sort of see how that end result works. So select those row of vertices there, and we can pull that out, and you can see that it's a little less obvious in the leg here because it's fairly straight and full volume, but in the head you could see a definite difference. So same thing with every part of the character. We're going to be using Mesh Smooth to see how we can round things off and shape it a little bit better. But we're going to actually be manipulating those very angular shapes that are the character at this point. Now, as we subdivide it more, manually subdivide it, meaning that we cut more edges in, because that's subdividing it also, we're going to be able to add more and more detail. So let's see what we can do about this foot and make it shaped a little bit more the way we would like here. The pants leg sort of comes down over the back of the foot. It's just, the way that I designed the character to kind of give him that sort of, kid with pants that are too long and whatnot, all that good stuff, skateboarder kid. And by pulling those edges closer together, see how sharp that corner is getting right there, just because I mentioned that earlier with the shirt. It's really evident here. The closer the edges are together and the vertices are together, the more we can create a point or an angular area that could create a crease or a sharp turn in direction. Angling the edges gives us a better flow for the natural flow of our character's leg, the way things go. We have a calf and everything. I know it's just got pants on right now, but it's kind of the idea. So just move this around a little bit, get some basic shapes going on here, and just kind of start to shape it out. We're going to be adding, as I said, a lot more detail later on. So let's see. Let's think about making a sole on our character's shoe here. And once again, that'll give it that feeling. Notice how rounded it is in sort of the front there. Whoops, that was a mistake. I hate it when I accidentally rotate the orthographic viewports. I have to get back on the left view here. All right, it's a bad habit. We all do it once in a while, but I try to avoid it, and you should too, definitely. So let's zoom in a little bit and see if we can take care of some of the leg stuff in the front here. And just generally shape it out so it's becoming a little bit more like our model, our template, I should say. Okay. There we go. So much of this is intuitive, and that's a big reason why I do these tutorials this way, because you have to understand a little bit more about the way things are actually shaped and so forth. It takes experience, and so I'm hoping that my experience is being transferred a little bit, by you, watching me and following along with me, creating, this character. There's anatomy involved to some degree, and a very small degree in this case. Now I turned off the Mesh Smooth modifier because I wanted to get these polygons here so I can make another cut. And it's just a little bit easier when I do it that way. Sometimes turn off Mesh Smooth, it's easier to select some things. And I just need to create a little bit of separation here because I need to make a edge cut really close to the bottom of the shoe here. And so I want to make sure I just get those polygons so that when I do this, it'll work out a lot better. Okay, going to move that vertex up just a little bit so that we can get that edge going in there, because we're going to create another edge and then we can use it as part of that shape for the back of the pants. See, as I said, some of this stuff I'm sort of just kind of going along with it. This is a new character for me as well, and there's a little bit of problem solving going on here, but that's part of the process, and it's important for you to see also. So once again, just using the quick slice tool here to get the that edge cut going on there, and that will give us a much better shape on the bottom of the foot. Turn Mesh Smooth back on, and voila, you can see how much more flat it is near the bottom, and only because I put that edge there. And that's really what does it. So keep that in mind, it's very important. Okay, once again, I got to remember to right click to get out of the quick selection tool. Okay, so now I have some more vertices to work with here. So I think I'll take these this sole and I'm going to scale those out a little bit. Those what I'm calling the sole right here of the shoe, you know, the bottom of the shoe. And I'll do the same with this group of vertices here. There we go. That's creating a better shape for the shoe. As I said, it's more flat on the bottom now, like a tennis shoe would be, you know, or a running shoe, or a pair of Keds, or whatever he's wearing. I don't know what he's wearing. I guess I should, since I made the character. Huh? Okay, so let's see. Let's just move, you know, this down to get it a little bit more flat. Round it off a little bit more on the toe, somewhat. Move these vertices down here a little bit as well. There we go. All right. So that angle that's going to be there for the pants and so forth, that's probably really going to just be done mostly with textures. Believe it or not, you can use a bump map to make it feel like that pants leg is over the top of the shoe. A little bit of modeling will help, but really textures can do an awful lot for us. So let's work on the legs coming along pretty well. And let's see, let's zoom in on those feet. Let's take a look at those feet. I think they're good for now. So, kind of pulling the head out just a little bit here, just to, you know, just thought of, you know, you don't want to stay in one spot for too long. So I like to move around. You get a little fixated sometimes in a certain area. It's just like if you draw a lot like I do, that's one thing you'll learn, is that you don't want to stay in one area on your drawing all the time, because you sort of get fixated in that area, and then it doesn't relate to the rest of the stuff that you're doing in your drawing. It's no different for this kind of stuff here. You want to make sure that you're always thinking about the whole character. And sometimes it's good just to get away from a little area and then come back to it later on. So all I was doing is just kind of shaping that out. We're going to be hanging a face on there. Literally, it's kind of like just, you know, creating those features. But for right now, we're just creating this basic shape of the head and not worrying about the nose or the mouth or the eyes or anything at this stage. That'll be coming soon. Going to do the same in the side, the front view here to, you know, get that general shape, you know, working there. And we're going to refine this so much more later on. Okay, so I'm thinking that we're in a pretty good stopping point here pretty soon. Let's see. Let's take a look at this a little bit more. What else should I do to this at the moment? I think we're in pretty good shape for now. So let's take a little break from this right now. We'll come back to it and start working on the arm.